Welcome back to Your Voice, Our Morrisville. And we are continuing our tradition of having a podcast that recaps the previous Borough Council meeting for anyone who wasn't able to attend or view it online. So right now we're going to be reviewing the May 2026 meeting. And joining me today are Borough Council members Debby Colgan, Shawn Ratti, and Peggy Walsh. So let's just jump right into it. So can we talk a little bit about the Summerseat celebration that happened on Memorial Day weekend?
We were so grateful that the Summerseat folks invited the entire community for hot dogs and hamburgers after the Memorial Day parade, which went off smoothly despite the rainy weather. After the solemn and very moving ceremony at the cemetery, people headed to Summerseat. The board members and volunteers had tents, games, music, and good food. Summerseat also hosted a two-day event on May 30th and 31st. There were encampments, reenactors, vendors, garden tours, just to name a few of the events that were available to visitors. So thank you to all of those who made these special days a reality. And be sure to check Summerseat's schedule for the July 4th festivities.
Thank you for giving the wrap up, Debbie. I think that Summerseat, hopefully it's getting more and more attention. It really is the jewel of Morrisville, one of our most historic buildings, especially with America 250 coming up. It's something that really needs to be promoted more and talked about more. So wrapping that up, let's segue on over to the May council meeting, which is why we're here. Now, I understand there was a bit of a hiccup before voting to appoint two new library board members. It got kind of confusing. There was some back and forth and this and that. So can one of you just give me kind of like the short version on what happened?
We had three excellent candidates who submitted letters of interest to be on our library board. And we know that these three candidates were big supporters of the library. There were also two other people who submitted letters of interest, and they have been very active online, posting negative and sometimes incorrect information about the library. So we were really afraid that we might not get the strongest, people onto our library board, which would be really a shame. And because of our experience with the last 4 months of votes coming down to a 4-4 tie, and knowing that the mayor could not break it remotely, we tried to table the vote because we were trusting that our mayor would, when he came back, recognize the importance of the library to our community.
Yeah, the solicitor could not find the specific information when he was scrolling on his phone. But we had learned in state training that the mayor has to be physically present to break a tie. But then we also took the extra due diligence and we made sure to communicate with the PA State Association of Boroughs. And they said, and I'll quote, a mayor must be physically present at a meeting to break a tie, which is why the mayor is excluded from the telecommunications section of the Borough Code. A mayor cannot vote over telephone, Chapter 10, Section 1003D of the Borough Code. So if something is not explicitly stated in the local borough code, which this case it seemed like they couldn't find that, then it defaults to the state borough code, which is where we got this information from. So contrary to what gets implied or what gets instated by people who might be uninformed on the subject, our homework is done and our research is properly conducted. So we're not just relying on the single interpretation of others.
Yeah, ultimately, Peggy realized we were getting nowhere and voted against tabling the motion, trusting that our colleagues would vote for library supporters, and they did. So we were very happy with our two new additions, Ann Perry and Pam Tevington, and know they will be strong additions to our library board.
Okay, well, that sounds promising. And speaking of the library, I noted that there has been a posting for the library director position on the borough website. I know we've been fighting for that for a while. But when I went and looked at it, it seemed to be a little brief and it didn't have a lot of information. I know it said that they wanted a master's degree. which I know is not necessary. But is the position posted any other place besides the borough website?
Well, Amy, I emailed the part-time borough manager to ask the same questions you just brought up. And I did suggest that he post it on the Pennsylvania Library Association of open positions, which does have several library director positions listed. I just checked right before this podcast, and we do not still have our posting on this site. I also pointed out that the postings on this site have a great deal of information about the library and the town who are doing the hiring and what they are looking for in a candidate. Our posting is not inviting at all. It's like about 5 lines, and it doesn't say anything about what they're looking for in terms of the skill set for the library director. We do have somebody on our board who is a Trenton State librarian, and she offered to post the position on the Trenton State website. So I asked the manager if he could work with her, not only to post the position, but also she could help the borough get a better description of what a library director posting should look like. So the posting also says that the candidate has to have, as you said, a Master of Library Science, and that's not required right now to get state funding. So having that unnecessary requirement really limits our pool of potential candidates considerably and increases the cost of the librarian unnecessarily. The posting doesn't even indicate whether the job is full-time or part-time. So it's really a perfunctory posting, I think, so that the interim part-time borough manager can say that he complied with our vote to post the position. He confirmed this. I did have more conversation with him by email. And in that email, he asked me this question: can Morrisville afford a library? And this part-time borough manager has also told me face to face that he does not think Morrisville needs a library.
Yeah, listen, the borough gives $240,000 a year to a library at a cost of $27 a year per residence. That's only 7 cents a day. Morrisville has supported our library with taxes since 1958, and there's no indication that the majority of taxpayers feel any different today. We're happy to see our part-time interim borough manager putting money into repair the building, but the borough owns the building, and our fear is that the end game is to use it for something else in the borough or to sell it. What a tragedy it would be to lose our library, especially with its historical and community significance to our town.
Okay, so to kind of summarize what I heard you say, it looks as though the posting for the director position on the borough website is kind of like the bare minimum, so that people can point to it and say it was done when it wasn't really posted anywhere else. It didn't. I also think it didn't have a salary range. Like I said, it didn't even say if it was part-time or full-time. So it sounds like this is a fight that we're going to have to continue. And speaking of things that are confusing, there was another kerfuffle at the meeting over minutes. Usually minutes are not usually very contentious, but I know that there was an issue, with the last meeting, and I know a lot of residents were confused. So can one of you explain what happens with the minutes?
Yeah. So Anna Langer at the April borough meeting asked again about financial records from the interim borough manager. The minutes did not reflect exactly what she said, and she felt they did not convey her intent. Not wanting the summarized version to misrepresent the point she was making, she asked to have them amended. Which, while she knows that these minutes are not done verbatim, no one wants to be incorrectly cited on records by any outside individuals or from any other sources, especially when there are certain individuals who like to frequently revisit council meetings and point out various things in the minutes as a point of contention or an attack.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Anna's request led to some bullying and negative remarks from 2 council members. What we're trying to do is ensure that the minutes clearly represent what was said, not an interpretation. And it's apparent now that some council members don't even read those minutes or even understand that the minutes are not received by council until a few days before our meeting. So there's really no opportunity for us to make corrections before the meeting.
So records should most accurately reflect the proper understanding of what occurs in an unbiased, unopinionated account. And that applies to both council members and for citizens as well, to not be misrepresented with inaccurate statements or slandered with inflammatory words or opinions. So there's nothing wrong with ensuring accuracy on occasion here, and not to have the minutes be questioned every single month. I mean, that's not what's happening every single time. We've had it twice so far, just asked for some simple corrections on usually one or two things. But for the council president to presume and then state publicly her opinion that residents who are unhappy with actions or certain opinions on certain council members must be friends of ours. And that's why we're questioning the appropriateness of how this is addressed or how what's written about. That's just a gross assumption on her part, with a very strong and intentional implications there. We're doing this to correct things in the appropriate way. To assume otherwise is just asking to put an opinion and a derogatory thing out there.
So any other issues you'd like to discuss before we go on to end on a more pleasant note?
Well, I mean, I think it's really important for the public to be aware that we still don't know the full picture of the borough's finances. We have been trying for over 6 months to find out how much money the borough has in various accounts, its investments, and how much debt we currently carry. This information was not included in the 2026 budget as it should have been. And our request for this information has been stonewalled for over 5 months. Knowing how much money we have and how much we owe is information that should be readily available and shared with residents as well as council members. Enough of this just trust us mentality, especially from people who are supposed to be able to help manage those finances like we are in our position.
Yeah, I think that that's referred to as transparency and fiscal responsibility and letting residents know how their tax dollars are being spent.
Correct. And I would also say that one of our residents during public comment in the meeting had mentioned that he wanted us to be able to work together more. And first of all, I 100% agree. Your voice group of four of us have voted, I'd say, over 90% of the time with the other members of council. I would say that the council has voted on issues that we have proposed maybe about 5% of the time. And sometimes when it is voted with, it's in a sarcastic way or a dismissive tone, with some extra remarks. I can only think about 2 times where the votes have gone our way. The rest of all ended up in ties where the mayor had to break the tie and had frequently broken it against us.
The resident also commented that the agenda has been changed at the beginning of some of our meetings. Now, unfortunately, there are times when it is unavoidable to add an agenda item at the last minute. Last minute agenda items may have to be added due to time-sensitive legal or personnel issues that arise during executive session. Last month was being a prime example of an unexpected but necessary addition.
Yeah, we really don't feel that our job is to rubber stamp what the part-time borough manager and the council president decide. We get the agenda on Friday before the meeting with a huge packet of material. Sometimes it runs at least 70 pages. Our requests to add items to the agenda have been ignored or denied. So the public meeting is our only opportunity to ask questions and make suggestions.
Okay, Peggy, so let me just restate what I think I heard you just say. So the Borough Council meetings take place on a Tuesday. You get the full agenda and any supporting materials on Friday before the meeting. So that gives you the weekend, I guess, to review it. But if you want to add something to the agenda, you really only have one business day, that's Monday, to email or reach out to try to have the agenda amended or added to. So
Well,
is that correct?
but it actually, by that time, it's too late to add anything to the agenda. So if we want to add an item to the agenda, we request it 8 days ahead of time. We have to request it that much ahead of time. We often do not get a reply, so we have no idea if our request has been honored until the agenda comes out. And by that time, it's too late for us to be able to get it on the agenda unless we try to force it at the meeting. So that's the issue.
And small windows still, as I think about it, where the agenda has to be posted publicly by Monday night. So again, a small window for those adjustments before it becomes public, and then anything that's changed after that is exactly what you see reflected happening at a meeting when we ask for those changes.
Okay, that just sounds rather inefficient to me, but that's just my opinion. So we'll wrap up that topic. But we also like to continue the Your Voice Our Morrisville tradition of adding something that's positive, wrapping up the podcast with something that's beneficial to the community that we can all look forward to. So Shawn, can you tell me a little bit about something that's going on in the borough that you're excited about?
Oh yeah, I mean we're thrilled to have the mural project at Williamson Park was approved. It's something that's been worked on for quite a few months, and we know we have a lot of people involved and have been very excited to see that happen. Public art is one of the best ways to revitalize a community's appearance and illustrate its history. It's a good follow-up to the Ashland Distillery mural. We have the Snack Shack mural, and we have the Love mural down on Delmore, if people haven't been down there to see that. So it's a great, nice addition to see in this area. It's a tradition that's getting more and more popular in the Northeast. I know Philadelphia is a great example of using art to help improve the visual image and reception of people in the city. So we'd love to see a tradition like that here. And since this has moved forward, hearing a lot of not only positive feedback from residents, but then now a few more ideas are coming forward to see like, hey, how can we keep expanding and continue this further?
And I'm really happy that we voted to co-sponsor the Jazz Fest again. This is an event that is known beyond Morrisville and brings more art to our community in the form of music and brings in residents and people outside of the borough so they can appreciate what's going on in our borough. And then I'm also looking forward to the 5K event sponsored by Ivans this Saturday. For non-runners like me and a few of us, there's going to be a fun mile walk before the runners start. So we hope to see lots of you at Williamson Park, and you can register on the Ivans website if you'd like to run or walk.
And I'd like to add that we've learned that the purple martin houses that were installed along the north end of the levee has been very successful. Purple martins are an important insect-eating birds whose populations have been in decline. And these houses are part of a statewide program to restore their historical range. Morrisville's bird town Annie Milionis reports that the Pennsylvania Game Commission, who provided the houses for free, is very excited to see such robust activity in its first year. And he tells us that along with a Borough College student, Birdtown will be monitoring the houses and reporting the counts. And if there are successful fledglings, we could receive more houses. So kudos and many thanks to Annie and Birdtown for making this happen. The levee at Williamson Park is a known bird hotspot, bird watching hotspot, and the addition of purple martins is thrilling. These are types of initiatives that make Morrisville a great place to live and to visit.
Yeah, the bird watching is something I didn't even know about until I used to walk on the levee during COVID to get exercise. And I would see bird watchers out there with their cameras set up. I had no idea how many species of birds are in our area. There were bald eagles and, we see the herons and whatnot when you walk on the canal, but realizing the diverse bird ecosystem is really something that makes you proud to be a Morrisville resident. So thank you again for leaving us on that positive note, Debbie. And we're going to wrap this up. So until we get together to recap the June meeting, we'll talk to you soon. See you around town.